bad witch. I'ma be rich.
Happy day, bud truck. Happy day. So, I figured out why my audio wasn't working. I have to plug my USB-C to my USB. So I just plugged that in. Nice. I think we're plugged in. Alright,
I'ma be bitch. I'm the bad witch. I'ma be rich.
Alright, so I can hear myself. So I was hearing myself, and you guys didn't hear what I was hearing. So let the mic load for a second, and let me make this better.
I'ma be rich.
Alright. Alright. Man. My mascara. Oh, there it is. Alright, let's see which mic. So, I think there's another cable to add. All right. All right, I think the mic is working. All right, is the mic working? I think that is working. I think that is working. So yesterday, and let me fix the lighting. All right, I'm pretty sure that it's working through the microphone. Pretty sure. So, I have the microphone. Turn up the microphone. Alright, so we're going to have to manage through stream and see if the microphone is working properly. So it's a little bit more dark outside than usually because I think it's about to thunderstorm. I think it might thunderstorm. So we had received the microphone a little bit ahead of schedule, which is really cool. And we had put it together, and whenever I was reviewing the stream, I was like, why can't we hear the microphone? also, there's a USB connector and a USB-C to USB-C USB. So I plugged in the USB-C to the audio monitor, and to the computer I plugged in the USB. And you have to plug in the USB-C to the USB, then plug in the USB. I didn't do that. I just plugged in the USB. So everything that I was hearing was through my headphones. And I thought that same sound was for y'all. I was over here, I was, playing with the audio mixer, and I was playing with the microphone, and, so the microphone wasn't hooked up. So now I'm pretty sure that the microphone is working stickety with the, I think that the computer interface, and then I had plugged in one of the outputs to a microphone. There's a little microphone 1/4-inch cable, and so yeah, stickety. I'm pretty sure that our mic is working now, so that's a plus. That is a plus, for sure. And we were talking yesterday about bitterness and how bitterness can be unhealthy, as a, for your mental health and just for your aura. So that's what we were talking about. I was thinking about, and I was thinking about writing it down. I'm like, I thought of something. I was like, I should write it down, and I didn't write it down. So it is quite alright. I think it was it had something to do with bitterness, because we were watching a video, and I think we should watch the whole video. It's like 30 minutes, and I had watched maybe about 15 minutes of it, and then I paused it, and then I fast forwarded it to another time. So that's what's up. Have some more spaghettis from yesterday. Delicious. And my 2 cups of coffee. Delicious. And my perspective and my personality. Delicious. I kid. Are we adulting today? I adult. Alright. Speaking of adulting, I
So for 2 years, Absalom has been holding this thing and he's planning. So after 2 years, when he's having a party in his house, he goes to tell his father, the king, and says, you come with all your servants and the brothers. I'm having a party and let them come and rejoice. And the king says, oh, no, I can't come. He says, well, if you don't come, then let my brothers come and eat food, have fun in my house. The king says, why do you want to do that? He says, well, I just want to share with my brothers.
So the king allows the party.
Okay, let your brothers come. So all the king's brothers go for the party in Absalom's house. This 2 years after the incident. And whilst they were there, Absalom had already told his servants, when you see that Amnon is happy, give him a lot of drink. Let him get drunk.
But King David didn't know that they were scheming.
Rise up and kill him.
The brothers were scheming behind King David's back.
This is 2 full years after the incident. Bitterness had come. How did the bitterness come? His sister was defiled. He was hurt. The king, his father, did nothing about it. And he kept it for 2 years, planned it deliberately, and executed his brother in cold blood. You would think that would be the end of the story, but it wasn't the end of the story. After that, the King David was angry and he banished Absalom. But Absalom had a lot of bitterness, not only against Amnon, but also against his father for doing nothing about the case when it happened. So he starts scheming to take over the kingdom from David. And eventually he succeeds and takes over the kingdom from David. David, the great warrior, is now sent out of Jerusalem because of a bitter son. Now let's look at the second case study. Chapter 15, 2 Samuel. Now what is happening now is Absalom, after he had organized his coup d'etat against David, is now building his team, his group, and he's selecting whom he can use. I want you to follow this very carefully and let's see how bitterness works. So in 2 Samuel chapter 15 verse 12, it says, then Absalom sent for Ahithophel. Note that name very carefully. Ahithophel, the Gilonite, David's counselor, from his city, from Gilo, while he offered sacrifices, and the conspiracy grew strong, for the people with Absalom continually increased in number. Now look at how the Bible describes Absalom. One, he's a trusted official of David. He's David's counselor, trusted official. He works with David. He's the man whom David listens to. Secondly, the Bible says when they found him, he was offering sacrifices. So he's a devout worshiper. He's not a carnal man. He's a spiritual person. And he's a godly person in the sense that his advice, the Bible says you find later, was almost like the oracles of God. So he's a worshiper. He's a trusted official. He's very influential, because the moment he joins Absalom, the Bible says the conspiracy grew stronger. Just 1 month's addition made the conspiracy strong. Now, chapter 16, 2 Samuel, verse 20 to 23. Follow this closely. This is very important. Then Absalom, remember Absalom is bitter. He's now gathering people. So he gathers Ahithophel. Then Absalom said to Ahithophel, remember Ahithophel is an official of David. He is highly respected. He is very influential, and he is a devout worshiper. He goes to church, because when they got him, he was making sacrifice. It's almost as if they went to church to recruit him. So going to church doesn't stop you from being bitter. Then Absalom said to Ahithophel, give advice as to what we should do. Give advice, Ahithophel, give advice. And Ahithophel said to Absalom, go into your father's concubines, whom he has left to keep the house, and all Israel will hear that you are abhorred by your father. Then the hands of all who are with you will be strong. So they pitched a tent for Absalom on the top of the house, and Absalom went into verse 23. Now the advice of Ahithophel, which he gave in those days, was as if one had inquired at the oracle of God. So all the advice of Ahithophel was all the advice of Ahithophel, both with David and with Absalom. He said his advice was as if you've inquired from God. The question that we have to ask is, how could a spiritual man, a man who offers sacrifices, a man who is trusted in the society, wise, influential gives such a diabolic and dirty advice? You see the advice he gave to Absalom. He says, if you really want to win, go and collect all your father's wives and sleep with them. And this man is supposed to be godly. He was found making sacrifices. He was recruited from church. Now you would think that such an elderly man with a lot of wisdom would come and his advice will cool tempers. Probably he'll tell Absalom, oh, take it easy, don't worry, it's okay, you know.
So Ahithophel told Absalom to sleep with all of David's
aggravating the
wives.
situation. He's giving devilish advice. There are times when people you think should give good advice, some of the things that come out of their mouth, you wonder.
And then Ahithophel gave David advice, and then David asked, David was advised by somebody that's someone else.
Why did he tell
And that
Absalom,
had better
go and sleep
advice.
with your father's wives? What motivated him to
Ahithophel
come with
realized
such advice?
that David didn't heed his advice.
There is a genealogical record there. It says Eliphelet. Don't name your child by that name. Eliphelet, the son of Ahasbai, the son of the Maacatite. Forget about all of them. The one that is important for this. Eliam, the son of Ahithophel, the Gilonite. Note that carefully. Eliam, the son of Ahithophel, the Gilonite. Remember when Ahithophel was first introduced, they said Ahithophel, the Gilonite. So it says Eliam, the son of Ahithophel, the Gilonite. So in other words, Ahithophel had a son called Eliam. Now go to 2 Samuel chapter 11, verse 3 and 4. You remember what David saw when he was on top of his house? Saw a young girl called Bathsheba, was interested in her. So listen to this. It says, so David sent and inquired about the woman, and someone said, is this not Bathsheba, the daughter of Eliam, the wife of Uriah the Hittite? Then David sent messengers and took her, and she came to him, and he lay with her, for she was cleansed from her impurity, and she returned to her house. So what happened? Ahithophel had a son called Eliam. Eliam had a daughter called Bathsheba. So Bathsheba was a granddaughter of Ahithophel. Do you get that? What happened to Bathsheba? David took Bathsheba from Uriah, the rightful husband, and lay with her, took her as wife. And all the time, Ahithophel was an advisor to David. So Ahithophel, the grandfather of this girl, saw what happened. He didn't resign his job. He still worked for David, giving him advice. So to all intents and purposes, David feels Ahithophel was his man. But something had happened to Ahithophel. He was hurt, he was angry, and he didn't do anything about the anger. So the anger became sharp, it became bitter. The two things you find between Absalom and Ahithophel is that both of them became angry about something. They didn't respond. They kept quiet. For Ahithophel, we don't know how many years, but for many years. At that time, Solomon had already been born, so we'll probably say a few years, maybe 5-6 years, I'm not sure. Take from you. Did they take your wife? Did they take your husband? Did they take your girlfriend? Did they take your money? Did they disgrace you publicly? Did they insult you? Did they humiliate you? Did they betray you? So that now when you hear their name, instantly your heartbeat goes up 3 notches. It means you have serious issues to deal with. So examine the root causes of the dislike. And most times, if Ahithophel was asked, he will find out why he hated David. Absalom knew why he hated David and Amnon. He knew that he could pinpoint to the exact time when the seed of bitterness was sown. And if you think a little bit, you'll get to know. Consider how that bitterness has influenced you over the years and your decisions. Consider the kinds of decisions you've made, the kinds of advice you've given, the kinds of words you've used as a result of that bitterness. Look at your life. What decisions have you been making? What kind of stories have you been telling about people? Fabrications you're making about people because they did something you just can't get over. You may be a child of God, born again, spirit-filled, anointed, tongue-talking, used by God, gifts of the Spirit. God may even have a greater plan for your life, but bitterness can destroy every good thing in your life. Of David's children, the one who was most honorable was Absalom. Handsome, well-spoken, king in the making, but bitterness destroyed him. Of David's advisors, the wisest was Ahithophel. Godly man, devout, but bitterness destroyed him. I'm not talking about bitterness destroying bad people. I'm talking about bitterness destroying good people. People who otherwise would have been good, but didn't live up to their potential. Ask yourself the question, am I ready to deal with the root causes of bitterness? Am I ready to deal with the root cause? Are you ready to deal with it? For those of you who find yourself around bitter people, and you would know when a person is bitter, when somebody's name, when it is mentioned, begins to spew forth insult, sometimes profanity. People start talking, and you know, this is not normal anger. This anger is coming from somewhere. The people start talking, and everything they say is filthy about that person. That person is bitter. If you are in an office and there are people in your office who start talking about somebody, and any time they say something is bitter, is filthy, the people are bitter. So what do you do around bitter people? Psalm 64 verses 2 to 7 gives us some clue. Psalm 64 verse 2 to 7 says, hide me from the secret plots of the wicked, from the rebellion of the workers of iniquity, who sharpen their tongue like a sword and bend their bows to shoot their arrows. Bitter words, that they may shoot in secret at the blameless. Suddenly they shoot at him and do not fear. They encourage themselves in an evil matter. They talk of laying snares secretly. They say, who will see them? They devise iniquities. We have perfected a shrewd scheme. Both the inward thought and the heart of man are deep, but God shall shoot at them with an arrow. Suddenly they shall be wounded. The end of the bitter person, the Bible says, God will shoot at you. I didn't write the Bible. God says, if you carry this bitterness for a long time, I'm going to shoot you yourself. I'm going to get you, because you are poisoning my creation. But check out the spirit of the people you hang around. Sometimes it can even be your parent. A lot of good mothers are also very bitter people. Good people, but extremely bitter. And they are bitter because of how they were treated by their husbands. Some of you mothers had to raise your children by yourselves single-handedly, which is noble, and we appreciate you for that, and we honor God. But in the process, you've allowed what your husband or your boyfriend or whoever did to you to poison you so much that you have infected your children with bitterness. Now your children want to kill their father. You've poisoned them with words, with emotions. You've even spoken curses, as if when they ever speak with that man, a curse will come upon them. That is bitterness speaking, mother. God has blessed you. God has helped you. You have raised the children. What more do you want? The man didn't take care of the children, but God took care of the children. The man didn't pay the fees, but look at where they are. Where is the bitterness again? Where are you taking this bitterness? And anytime you sit with your children, you're talking about, look at your husband, and look at your father, and look at him, and look at the man, and you poison them. And unfortunately, sometimes when they fall in love with somebody else, and their affection starts moving from you to them, you can't stand it. Then you transfer bitterness to the people they've fallen in love to, and start crying, look at her, and look at you, and look at her. So from bitterness, what happened to you is legitimate. You have genuine case, but you have allowed it to bring bitterness into your heart. And now you are becoming an agent of Satan. You're allowing Satan to use you to destroy not only your children, but everybody who comes around your children. If you are a mother here and you identify that you have bitterness, deal with it. You may get the children's support for today, but one day you're going to hang yourself. Bitterness never produces good fruit in the end. If you are here today dealing with bitterness because somebody hurt you so bad you can't overcome it, you can't forgive them, they did something, and every time, even when you're praying, you see images. When you're praying, instead of seeing vision of goodness, you're seeing hatching plans, how to destroy them. When you come for prayer meeting, we say, let's pray against our enemies. You know whom you are praying against. And Father, destroy him. And Father, your whole prayer life, everything you do is bitter. Today you want to set yourself free, because if you don't deal with bitterness, it will destroy you.
If you want to support our podcast and stay informed about our latest episodes, we're always creating new content every week for our podcast. Subscribe.
Jeez, what a video. What video? So, oh hey Dylan. Hey Dylan. So, I was talking about bitterness, and then he referenced the Bible and the stories of King David. Depends on her mentality. I think the microphone is working. I think the microphone is finally working. It's quite amazing. It's quite amazing to know that my microphone is working. And I'm not sure how far away or how close to the mic we have to be for it to lift our voice through the mixer and to the computer. So we can all hear me without the webcam. And the webcam has its own quality of reading my voice. I like potatoes too. Potatoes are very filling. You don't like sharing your name here? That's alright. It's quite alright. Stick-a-day. So, the title of Enjoy Ennyarodasi, aka Jenny Beast. You are 1,000 times good. My team's there, potatoes. You know, I was thinking that our streams are quite amazing. You know, regardless of, you know, before how the mic was, you know, how the audio, it was still quite amazing. So I'm really hoping that, you know, alright, I think the audio is coming through the mic. I've been checking, you know, to make sure that the audio is coming through the mic. What is the value of the United? Is that something we should talk about? What do you think the value of the United is? Alright, so this topic, I have two copies. I have two copies. And I'm so happy and thankful and grateful that our translator is working, just as we were talking about King David having many wives, then our translator is working. So maybe that was a hint to me that y'all are my wives. Oh, magic, you missed it. Somebody was asking about birds, There should be like a little emoji or something to let us know whose chats are being translated. That would probably be an upgrade to the translator, So it was the daughter of King David. It was the daughter of King David that was raped by her half-brother. And then, after, he thought that he loved her, and once he raped her, he realized that it was just lust, and lust and love are something different. So he had banned her from, when was it? Or I'm not sure if he ignored her or something. It was one of King David's daughters, and it was one of King David's sons that raped one of his daughters. And then after he raped one of King David's daughters, he no longer had, feelings for the girl, King David's daughter. So, and then once King David found out about it, he didn't do anything about it. So 2 years later, they were planning a gathering, and within the gathering, one of King David's sons had made kind of an army of his own, and so he had brought his army men into the party where everyone was to eat at King David's castle, and he had planned to, this is King David's son. King David's son had planned to murder the brother that raped his sister because King David didn't do anything about it. So he didn't do anything about it, he didn't say anything about it, and 2 years later, whenever there was a family gathering, one of King David's sons had planned to murder his half-brother because of what he had done to his sister. That was 2 years later, and he was successful in murdering his half-brother. And then King David didn't do anything about it. He was like, I didn't do anything about it once you told me that he had raped her, and where she had came clean, and they were like, they asked her, they were like, did he do something with you? She said, yes. So then, King David was like, he didn't do anything about it. Even though it was one of his sons with one of his daughters, he didn't do anything about it. And so King David was kind of, in the background. And, he, after one of his sons were murdered, he still didn't do anything about it because he knew that he was in the wrong 2 years earlier. And he didn't know that one of his other sons was going to plan to, kill his brother. So King David, and then there's another story within that story, that story plot, because it was one of King David's advisors who became bitter towards King David because King David slept with his granddaughter Bathsheba. So he had he had bitterness towards King David, and he was one of King David's advisors. And so once he realized that King David did not heed his advice, he hung himself, because he probably thought that King David was like, are you being bitter? Did you give me advice out of bitterness? And so rather, than King David killing him, he killed himself. And he hung himself. And in the movie, I was telling you that, because the narrator kept on talking about how bitterness could, could make you kill yourself. And it's most people, that, hang themselves or whatnot, are bitter. They're bitter, towards someone else's success or stuff like that. And I was talking about how I realized that those that are successful in this day and time, in our culture, are they're kind of bitter, and they, bitter towards those that are they're even bitter towards those that are less successful than they are. And alright, so in the movie A Star Is Born, Bradley Cooper hangs himself at the end of the movie. And if you didn't see the movie, I'm sorry for the spoiler. Bradley Cooper hangs himself. And it was because he became bitter towards his wife, which was played by Lady Gaga, because she was having more success in the industry and quicker success than him. And at one of her concerts in Europe, she finally made it into the big time. At one of her concerts, he had, he stayed at home and he hung himself because he was bitter towards his wife, because his wife was starting to have more success, more quick than, his success story. And she loved him regardless. And she had, she'd asked him, she was at her concert, like, where's my husband? And, her husband was, by that time, her husband had hung himself. So, and that was because, it wasn't because he didn't love his wife, it was because he was bitter towards her success. And so, we can relate this in many ways towards today's culture and towards, because I feel like if I hold the mic, I can realize if I am actually talking into the mic or if I'm talking into the computer mic. Not the computer mic, but because, alright, properties, let me lower the music, and then I can turn up the volume on the mic. It still hasn't. Okay, let me test. I mute that. Okay, so if I mute that, where is my? I think my audio is coming through here. Is it coming through here? High definition audio device. Alright.
So, wait, let's see if it'll be the same for this one. No. Alright, USB audio. And so it's it picking up my sound? Just because I have the sound down. Alright. Alright, so it's picking up. Alright, it's picking up my sound through here, so.
Can you hear me? I'm not sure if you can hear me. Because I'm saying that the microphone is being picked up through my microphone. Yes, you hear me. How does it sound? Oh my god, what is this language? This is the language of
ennyarodasi, of course. So, is the sound amazing? Absolutely amazing. I'm not cutting. So, maybe that, to think back to when I was just kidding, whenever I was saying, I'm just kidding. Oh. Yes. So Mom just came in the room. She just came in the room with spaghetti and a hot dog bun. I'm like, that's so many carbs. That's so many carbs. Question mark. No. Oh, the fit today. The fit today is it's a yellow shirt. It is a yellow shirt with shorts. A yellow shirt with yellow shorts. You can kind of see more of my body. Any hoodles. Did I tell you a kiss? Alpha is good. That's why you talk so much. There's a difference between talking and yapping. I feel as though we talk, though. There are many things that we can yap about. And we kind of do, though we have, we have talks and discussions, though. It's an excellent profession. Loading. So whenever I was talking about, I was actually playing with my soundboard, and I
had my voice stiggity, and only aliens. It kept on saying loading, and I thought that they could hear me. I thought that they could hear what I was hearing, because I was hearing, I was hearing is it a voice? Is it a plane? Is it a voice? It's definitely not a plane voice. It's definitely
very stiggity. And so I had recorded my voicemail the other day. I had a friend named Amanda. I was like, oh, Amanda's Amanda. So because I had more female, features. So there are so many females that listen to my podcast, and there are so many males that listen to my podcast too. And it's trippy, because they give you these statistics of, of where you're from, and how your outreach is. I don't know if it's outreach or it's the proximity of whereabouts your people are keeping up with you from. It's pretty obvious. It isn't obvious whenever we have our translator on. That's why I was thinking, it could be, it could be like, a little badge or something. Like you're speaking in a different language and it's being translated and give you a, like a badge. You texted me many times and didn't even respond and kept ignoring. Therefore, you won. I would take that as a loss. Oh, you didn't text back. You didn't respond. You lose, So whenever ennyarodasi is preoccupied and being, doing the right thing, being preoccupied, that would be your loss, What do y'all think? If you were texting me and then all of a sudden you stop texting, do you think that would be more of your loss? I think that would be more of your loss than my loss. Because it's just showing me, that's not, necessarily who I should be messing around with. And there, what do they say? There's plenty of fish in the sea. That's actually a bad reference because, I don't think I don't think any good things have come of plenty of fish. Isn't that like Grinder or something? Probably was a bad reference. Whenever you expect, quick responses, to respond would be to text back, to call, to stay in touch. And if you're not making the effort, then, I hope you're having a good time, I hope you're having a good life. It's not going to bother me any. Exactly. It's not a contest. And that's also why I was mentioning bitterness, because, referring to the movie with Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper and how, they were in love and stuff, and he started treating her badly once, he realized that she was having some success. And, that's kind of wiggity whack, rather than, being proud and, being honest in the way that you are showing love, you are showing effort and compassion, to be just another person in the crowd that's like, oh yeah, I'm a fan, if I had the chance, I would probably try to hurt her feelings, though. That's how some people think. And that's, also kind of why I watch the bitterness thing, because you can sometimes tell whenever people are being bitter. Sometimes, they'll give you the silent treatment. They won't respond to your texts. Is that you being bitter, or is that me being bitter? And send them a funny link to a video or something, just to let them know, like, hey, I'm still around, I hope you're alright, to the, to the essence of, oh, freaking silent treatment. And so somebody in the comments had, mentioned, would it be a win if you didn't text back, or if you didn't respond, or if you were ignored? No, it's not a win. It's a lose-lose at that point, because you're not holding anything up. You're just being unstiggity. You're probably being childish, and that's alright. You learn one way or another. My friend was like that with somebody that he was trying to be with, and he was being standoffish. He was giving her the silent treatment. She ended up, with another guy and married him. They had kids, and, he lost his opportunity because he was being bitter. And now he's even more bitter because, that was the girl that he wanted to be with. And he didn't show that to be true. As a matter of fact, I just have received, I'm not gonna, talk too much about my personal life, because, it's sort of a thing that I kind of save for my podcasts and stuff. I'll talk about my personal life in different ways. And I can admit that sometimes I'm the one that, I'll message and then I'll stop messaging or whatnot. I'm really bad with, returning messages and texts sometimes. And most of my people know that, so they'll either message me, continually message me, which is the right thing to do, or they'll continually call me, which is the right thing to do, because you're exuding effort, If you're not, if you're not calling, you're not texting, and, you think I'm going to, recognize you from chats or something like that, because that I stream. If you knew that I stream, you would also know that I kind of try not to watch too many streams other than mine, because I just become bored. And my stream, or and I kind of try not to talk about streams. I kind of would rather just be myself and play it by ear. There was that story of, and there's so many different ways that I could relate to different stories. I could definitely relate to King David, and in that essence, if I have, me having many people that I care for, and many people that need me, maybe that makes people feel a certain way. Maybe that makes them jealous. Jealousy, can cause bitterness. And in the, the circle of drama, sometimes it's, angry, hungry. What is it? No, it's hungry, angry, lonely, and I forgot what the T is. Something like that. And the acronym is HALT, H-A-L-T. Oh, it's hungry, angry, lonely, tired. And that is a cycle. Another drama cycle is you have the hero, you have the anti-hero. You have the hero, you have the anti-hero, it's the hero, the real hero, the villain, and the victim. And the real hero is the one that does nice things and exudes effort without expectation. The hero has an expectation of reward. So the real hero doesn't have any expectation of a thank you or a reward. Whatever they do out of the kindness of their heart. They do because it's the right thing to do. The hero does stuff and expects praise for their efforts. Then there's the villain who creates, the drama cycle. And, you could be 2 or 3 of the categories. You could be the victim, you can be the villain, because however you frame your state of mind, to either be a victim, a villain, to be a real hero, and just, to be a hero, which, they do what they do because they expect reward. So, I could trust that the music volume is good, and I could kind of trust that, my sounds are coming through my mixer. Alright. Alright, cool beans. So, that's what's up. What in the world? Alright, I'm pressing some buttons. Oh my god. You wanna ship me to Shadat? Is that the longitude, latitude? What did I say? Longitude, latitude? Is that the longitude, attitude? That's if you sleep. I know that we have a lot of people in here from Saudi Arabia. I was so amazed whenever I was watching this video on YouTube about they were touring through Saudi Arabia, and I think it was very romantic. Once I have a passport, I would travel to Saudi Arabia. I would have to figure out, by then, hopefully I would have my laptop, and so, I could stream from my laptop, or I could stream from my phone. Always nice to meet you. It's my pleasure. Flights are nice. Yeah. I remember I was talking alright, so there was like a nuclear scare. It was towards America, and oh, I think it is actually picking up the mic.
I think it is actually picking up the mic, and I can hear myself very stickity. So, where should I place the mic?
can hear my voice. With, it does kind of have a little bit of a reverb. Just a little bit of a reverb. The reverb. Please, I don't like pranks. I'm horrified. Absolutely horrified. My bad. You know, I think it was in Matthew chapter 14 or something, where they were talking about the acceptance of God, and that God accepts you in the humbleness of your own, say the humbleness of your own closet, but it translates to the humbleness of your own home, or your own room. Not your own home, your own room, because back in the day, in the Bible days, it was traditional that you lived with family. No matter how successful you are. And often whenever you live with family, you have your own room. Now, the thing about spirituality is that it's not religion, it's a point of view. It is a point of view. We should play some Roblox. I know what y'all enjoy. I see. Gabriel read that for me. Witness that Ali is the guardian of God. Mid high. Outside, magic? Do you live near college? I understand you in my life. It's nice to talk to you again, Rolly. As always. No, I'm not condescending. There's a difference between sarcasm and condescending. No, I was being honest because I knew what was happening at the time, and have you ever been banned because you're too close to someone? It's often, that's not something that is normal online. That's why you brush your teeth after you eat. Right? Right. Spaghetti and a hot dog. That's the first. It's the first for everything. I'll try it. Reminds me of. Okay, you go. No, it reminds me of garlic bread. No, hold on 1 second. Hold on 1 second. Alright, I'm back. I need to put some, have some WD-40 on my chair. Alright, so it tastes like garlic bread and spaghetti. The mobile's not working. Oh, it's working. They just want to be fair towards the other. I wouldn't say contestants. Towards the other. People on the app. Carbs. I was the guardian of God. Pretty godly day. I was just popping the time a few times today. Being a good mod. There's that saying, show me who you walk with and I'll tell you who you are. Or show me who you walk with and I'll know who you are. Show me who you walk with, and I can realize who you are. Show me who you walk with, and I can recognize who you are. Show me how you walk with people, I can recognize what you are. for whichever gender you're attracted to. That's right, you know. I mean, who's that? Multi-gender conservative people. Is there such a thing? Oh, we should. That reminds me. We need to schedule a day where we have TikTok reacts. Because today we were talking about bitterness, and I kind of enjoyed holding the mic.
I won't know until I rewatch the stream if the mic had picked up. If the mic had carried my voice. So you guys were listening to the story, and they utilized Bible study, it was kind of a Bible study, it was kind of a story, it was kind of, talking about how, I keep on thinking restlessness, not restlessness, it's bitterness. How bitterness can be a poison. And so, if someone is bitter, that can poison them. And if somebody, harnesses bitterness, they could be bad for communities. Thank God I don't have any curse. Thank God that I am blessed with amazing people in my life that surround me. My mom always used to pray for angels to encounter around me, to keep me safe from harm and to keep harm from me. She says, Lord Jesus, I pray for a spiritual hedge of protection and angels to encounter around me and to keep me from harm and to keep harm from me. And she would pray for me every time that I would drive. She would pray for me every time that, before we ate, to bless the food, let it nourish our bodies, our minds, and our souls, and bless those that have none. Welcome back, Doomsayer. Back to the broadcast. So, I have to realize my advice because I sometimes don't realize until later that my advice has been heeded. And in the story, I would place myself in the character of King David. In some ways, and in some ways, I would place myself in the character of King David because he's a good character. And he had birthed I think it was King David's son, was one of King David's sons was Solomon. So, one day, I had realized that, they say, show me who you walk with, I'll show you who you are. And I had been walking with someone for a long, long time, and people started to realize and recognize that, and they realized that it was something good for us. And so I had been introduced to someone within the similar realms of what I was doing. I was streaming, and in that time, I had realized that God had blessed me with, a sense of security beyond the average sense of security. And that's a blessing. That, there is that movie where you would do good for people, and then those people would do good, and then those people would do good. So within the realms of me, spamming just kidding, and then if you look at some things today, you'll realize that there are a lot of kids that are, that have become really successful in the ways of work that I have been placed within the realms of understanding, within the realms of community, within the realms of streaming, within the realms of being myself and sharing my knowledge and sharing, because knowledge is wealth, and, especially how you utilize knowledge, that is true wealth. Whenever, say just kidding, and then you'll realize that there are a bunch of what people would consider kids, trying to hold it down in the realms of, certain success. And maybe to realize that, to not be bitter for other people being successful, and also bitter. Sometimes they're like, sometimes they are still somewhat bitter towards the fact that, sometimes they're still somewhat bitter towards the fact that, there are people that, there are people that need me, there are people that love me, and, it's in the same ways where years ago, I had been the pinnacle of, some certain understanding and some certain comfort, and to realize that, some kids have the opportunity to understand what I didn't really understand back in the day. Back in the day, I, didn't realize that I was being successful. I didn't realize my success until, probably